9 lives. Oh, no, 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 opponents. You're going to get quenched right now. Denied. Rest in peace. Okay. Even if they get rid of our graveyard, we still can get a win here. Get this to level 2. We will bounce back the Quenchia. Let's play the Monument to Endurance. Bounce up the Otter. We will... How do we do this here? I think we will... Oh, opponent already? Aw, we were just getting started there. Hello my fiery friends, the Infernoman here with the hottest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, we're of course continuing our deep dive into Avatar: The Last Airbender. Unlike our previous videos, we are actually not going to be focusing on bending for mono blue. That's right. So without further ado, join me today in the Pioneer format for a deck that I'm simply calling Gran Gran's Lessons. Longtime viewers of the channel know how we do it. We have to talk about the stats of the deck before we dive right in. So Gran Gran's Lessons is a mono blue deck with an average mana curve of about 2.3. We're looking at a total of 12 creatures in the deck, 8 instants, 4 sorceries, 8 artifacts, 8 enchantments, and 20 lands. Gran Gran's Lessons, as the name implies, is focusing on a mono blue deck that is a mid-range value pile. We're actually going to utilize one of the key breakout cards from Avatar, which is Gran Gran herself. I'm not kidding you. When we explain how she works, she's actually a lot stronger than she may look. Having said that, of course, the reason why we're focusing on a lessons plan in mono blue versus the other decks we've done in previous weeks that we're focusing on bending is water bending kind of sucks. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I tried my hardest to try to make it work, and it wasn't really working. But thankfully, however, mono blue does have enough support where we can not only support Gran Gran with lessons, but also build around her, which you'll see in a moment. We'll be utilizing a strategy that not only helps us go wide, we can also go big, or we can just kind of just out-tempo our opponent with some value plays. Now, if you're still confused about the explanation I just gave for you, rest assured there is a method to my madness. But rather than ramble on about it, let's just go over now the deck tech itself in detail to kind of elaborate what I'm trying to get at. So starting in the 1-drop slot with our creatures, we'll be talking of course about the star of the show, Gran Gran herself. For those who haven't seen how this card works, let's briefly break her down. Gran Gran here is a mono blue 1/2 human peasant ally. She is also a legendary creature that reads, whenever Gran Gran becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for as long as there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. The discount that Gran Gran can provide for us is going to be amazing as the game progresses. We want to keep her alive as long as we can to get more value out of the deck. To help her out, of course, we'll be rounding out our package with Spyglass Siren. Granted, this card may look a little off the beaten path here because it doesn't really look like it synergizes with anything, but trust me, we want that map token on turn 1 or the Spyglass Siren to provide us a little extra value. I'll explain what I mean in just a few moments.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
The other final card in the deck will be Eddie Merc Crab here. So this is a 7 mana 5/5 elemental crab. Thankfully, it has flash, so you can bring it in on your opponent's turn. And also, this spell will cost 1 less to cast for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. However, this creature will enter tapped if it's not your turn. But again, the biggest reason why you want the card is you want to be able to bring this in the mid to late game to tap down some creatures and get some tempo value out of it to hopefully clear the way so you can smash your way to victory. Now, in order to get the max value out of Gran Gran here, we're going to be utilizing a handful of lessons that I think will be the best ones for this deck. So in the 1-drop slot, we'll have Boomerang Basics here, which can bounce back a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. However, if we control that permanent, we can draw a card. Believe it or not, there's going to be moments where you actually want to recast your spells by utilizing this to get more value out of your deck. Accumulate Wisdom here can be absolutely insane once you get the max value out of it. For a base value, you can just look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand, and put the rest into the bottom of your library. However, if you manage to get 3 or more lesson cards into your graveyard, when you cast this spell, you can then get all 3 cards at bare minimum for 2 mana, which is a great rate. However, with Gran Gran, it's basically like an Ancestral Recall in the format, which is also amazing value. And of course, our final instant lesson is going to be It'll Quench Ya.
Drink cactus juice. It'll quench you. Nothing's quenchier. It's the quenchiest.
Now you may be wondering, why not use other counterspells? Well, I'm going to be honest. This is literally the best flavor-wise for the deck.
Okay, I think you've had enough.
If we can get the value out of Gran Gran, this is basically a Spell Pierce upgraded. For enchantment support, we'll utilize a couple of them that actually provide us a little extra value as we hopefully fill out our game plan. Storm Chaser's Talent here is an amazing card for us that will help us, of course, build extra value. For only just 1 mana, at bare minimum, you can get an Otter token with Prowess. However, once you activate to level 2, you can then bounce back an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And if you can manage to get to level 3, for 6 mana, you can start casting more spells and will provide for you more orders with more prowess support. Granted, mostly you just want to be able to then reuse this over and over again to at least make some extra tokens, which will help us go wide with our strategy. And our only other option is going to be Ensoul Artifact, which again does look a little off in this deck, but hear me out for a second here. Remember that we mentioned again that Spyglass Siren earlier? When it creates that map token, if you play this on turn 1, and by turn 2, if you get Ensoul Artifact this onto an artifact, that creature will become a base power and toughness of 5/5 in addition to its other types. You can, in theory, turn on any artifact we want to make it a big beatdown creature. So in theory, you actually could do 6 damage by turn 2 with a map token Ensouled with Ensoul Artifact. But we're not done yet. We also have a little bit of extra support in the form of artifacts. So in the 2-drops that we'll utilize here, Smuggler's Copter, a flying 3/3. However, you can crew this for 1, and anytime it attacks or blocks, you can draw a card, and if you do, you can discard a card. That crew 1 is key because Gran Gran also has 1 power, so in theory, you can tap Gran Gran to then draw a card and discard a card, and then with Smuggler's Copter attacking, you can also draw and discard yet another card for almost next to nothing. However, we want to still provide a little extra support, so we'll also utilize here Thopter Fabricator. Anytime we draw our second card each turn, you get to create a colorless 1/1 Thopter Artifact Creature token with flying. You can crew this as well for 2, but realistically, you're mostly just utilizing this to help yourself go wide with some extra Thopters. And then finally, with all that card draw and discard we're doing with Smuggler's Copter and Gran Gran here, we'll round out our package with Monument to Endurance. I actually love what this artifact can do because it provides a little extra value for the whole game plan. Anytime we discard a card, we simply just choose one of the following. You can draw a card, you can create a treasure token, or make an opponent lose 3 life. Excellent for the deck, and remember that you can use Ensoul Artifact if you need to Ensoul a treasure, the Monument to Endurance, the Fabricator, or even Smuggler's Copter for more and more value. As far as your mana base is concerned, this is a budget deck and we're going to keep it as simple as possible. Literally just 20 islands. You don't really need anything else. Now granted, I'm sure some of you out there may request that you might want to throw in some other kinds of utility lands, such as maybe a Darksteel Citadel or other ones, but again, mostly we don't want to run into situations where you cannot cast certain spells because some of your utility lands either cannot cast for blue mana or they end up being tapped. So your mileage may vary, but again, if you think of there's something that would be best to put in here even on a budget, let me know in the comments below and I would love to hear from you. Now, if you're a fan of best of 3, here's what I would recommend for you for your sideboard. So you can throw in Slip Out the Back here, which allows you to phase out a creature and put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature. Remember, you also can use this as a tempo play to phase out an opponent's creature if also you have trouble dealing with certain threats on the board. For Graveyard Hate, and also because it is an artifact, we'll use Soul Guide Lantern here. We can also utilize your Crashing Wave. This is technically our only water bending spell we have in there, so I wanted to throw it in for flavor purposes, but actually it can be a good slow way to stun some creatures and put them out of commission, which allows you to get a good swing in against your opponent. And then we'll have Disruption Protocol here as an alternative kind of counter spell since we have plenty of artifacts to tap to get the better value. And then finally, if you want another vehicle on board, we can also utilize here Invasion Submersible. When this vehicle enters, you can bounce back a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, whether it's ours or our opponent's, and it finally has Exhaust. By Wonder Bending 3, the vehicle can become an artifact creature and you can put some +1/+1 counters on it. Remember, you also can stack this on top of an Ensoul Artifact. And now that you have the whole overview of Gran Gran's lessons, let's get to the more exciting part of this video. Let's take this deck into the Pioneer format, let's play some matches, and let's see how well the deck can do. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content. You can support me monthly for a small amount on Patreon, where I have all of my extended bonus footage posted. We also have a Redbubble spot where you can buy merch like stickers and shirts, or for free, all you can just do also is just join our growing community on Discord. Your support helps keep this channel going. All links are in the details below. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can we use the lessons that Gran Gran teaches us to overwhelm our opponent and smash our way to victory? Well, we have the Storm Chaser's talent in hand. No Gran Gran, but we do have Smuggler's Copter, which kind of works like her. And also we can make with those tokens enough to crew up the Smuggler's Copter. Okay, this should be good, right? Counterspell also will help us out as well. Play an island. Storm Chaser's talent. All right, opponents. What do you got? Alright, they shock themselves with a Hollow Fountain. So is it going to be... Oh, Fading Hope. Alright, well, that's annoying, but that's not a big deal for us. We still have many other options to get around our opponents. So the Smuggler's Copter. So if they're going to be playing Tempo or Control, we can still make many more tokens. Shimmer Possibility, okay. So, what deck is this? Is this a combo deck? It might be. We'll find out in a moment here. Storm Chaser's talent number 2. Make an Otter. Crew the Otter. copter. Get our swing in. Yes, we'll draw a card. Okay, island. We don't need another island, so we'll toss that away. Down to 15 opponents. Okay, so at the very least, we can just start looting through our whole deck until we can get to what we need. 9 lives. Oh, no, 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 opponents. You're going to get quenched right now. Denied. Too bad. Okay, so with that, let's see here. I think the proper answer is get this to level 2. We will bounce back the Quenchia. Again, tap Smuggler Copter. Swing again. Draw another card. Okay, Boomerang Basics. Well, we can toss away the Accumulate Wisdom for now. Can't really get much value out of that until Gran Gran gets here. But it's at 10 though. Impulse. Okay, so they're still digging for their lock pieces, but as long as we can still keep countering them with It'll Quench It, we should be good to go. Wow, down to 7. Rest in peace. Okay. Even if they get rid of our graveyard, we still can get a win here. So that's actually not a problem for us. Let's play the Monument to Endurance. Pumps up the Otter. We will... How do we do this here? I think we will... Oh, opponent already? Oh, we were just getting started there. But I mean, not a long match, but you kind of got to see right there. Once we start building up our value, no matter what your opponent does, you'll eventually overwhelm them with everything we were going to do. Okay, well, not a fancy fast one, everyone, but you get the idea of the deck, all right? Very annoying and very satisfying once everything gets started. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can Gran Gran and a bunch of lessons teach our opponent the way to lose? Well, so as I mentioned earlier, we just had lessons, Siren Pirate, and Gran Gran with an Eddy Merc Crab. Crab's a little ways away, but we will get there eventually. A Triumph. I wonder what that could be. So for now, Spyglass Siren will get some early game damage with the Siren and then an Insult Artifact. Mountain. Okay, Thunderkino. I haven't seen this card in a while. What could that mean? I might have forgotten. Okay, Insult Artifact. Big swing here. Down to 14, opponents. So let's see. When this creature attacks, choose your elemental card in your graveyard. Okay. Chandra. Okay, so they're playing an Elementals deck. Huh. I haven't seen an Elementals deck in a long time. Okay, we'll make their Elementals. That's cute.
Say hi to my fiery friend.
That's 16. Okay, so let's see. Boomerang Basics. So how do I want to do this here? I think we take out Chandra. Swing here.
I'm late to meditation anyway.
Okay, Gran Gran. Bounce away Silence. Spyglass Siren. Draw another card. Okay, that's good. We'll play the island again. Spyglass Siren. Make another map token. Okay. Well, we do have a bit of an awkward, janky beatdown plan, but it is kind of working.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Does our opponent go after Gran Gran? They do. Unfortunate, but I suppose this means from now we're just going to be on the big beatdown plan with our Spyglass Sirens. Okay. Well, this actually, this hilariously worked out in our favor. This honestly has nothing to do with even the lesson plan, like, but, okay. Yeah, this works. Yay! We taught our opponent a lesson there, but it wasn't quite the lesson I was expecting, but hey, a win is a win, so we'll take it. Did we have fun with that match? Yeah, sure we did. Okay, yay. Okay, my fire friends, here we go. Can we teach some lessons utilizing Gran Gran and a bunch of random spells? Well, we don't have any of our turn 1 plays, but we do have some counter spells, and we also have a way to bounce things. Let's keep this and see what we can work with. Alright, swamp for our opponent there. Okay, so we got the Insult Artifact. We don't have a way of attaching it to anything just yet. Another swamp. And that. Okay, that's gonna be interesting for us. Mostly because... that actually takes away part of our graveyard, which may affect us just a little bit, but we'll see. Let's play Boomerang Basics and bounce it away. Hopeless Nightmare. Alright, that's annoying, but not the worst. So with that, we'll throw away It'll Quench It for now. Alright, another island. So here, Monument to Endurance. Swing here. Nowhere to run. Annoying, but again, not the worst. It's all good. I'm not coming back again. Most likely they'll start eating the graveyard soon. But at least the good news, of course, is with what we have, we possibly could pull off some stuff here. So, let's see. Let's Insult Artifact. Get it in a swing. Cool, down to 15. Okay, not bad yet. We're going to also wait on the Accumulate Wisdom. If they start eating our graveyard, which they probably will, that probably means that we're also not going to get the value out of our lesson cards.
I'm in danger!
Nowhere to run. Okay. So they're going to try to soften up here our map token. Huh, interesting. Okay, so they will start eating our lessons, which actually does kind of hinder us a smidge. Swing here. Go down to 16. Accumulate Wisdom. Ooh, okay. We got Gran Gran. Gran Gran's always good to have. Okay, another Insult Artifact. Okay, well, I guess we're going to be on the Gran Gran and Insult Artifact plan. Not quite what I was expecting, but sure, why not? Big swing here. Down to 6. Well, I guess this is kind of a good reason why we have a backup plan. Hopeless Nightmare. All right. Well, I mean, that actually helps us out. Thank you, opponents. You know what? Let's make them lose 3 life. Down to 3 opponents. Okay, so the opponent's gonna have to make a big play here if they actually want to stop us. What do you have, opponent? Okay. Eesh, I don't like how much mana they're making. What could their play be? Eat hook map. Wow. Unbelievable.
Boo! You stink!
That actually stopped us? What kind of... Okay, so this is literally just an enchantment deck with Time Arat, and we kind of gotten overrun by it. Okay, well, it did take our opponent to lose everything, though, so maybe we can still get there with Gran Gran. Come on, Gran Gran. Okay, or Skitter. Opponent's gonna keep eating the graveyard, of all things. Wow. I swear, sometimes Arena finds the most random of decks to actually counter us. Who actually plays... No, seriously. Who actually plays a Mono Black Devotion deck in 2025? Honestly, now. Okay, so they swing. They're down to 12. We were so close. Oh. Actually, we're not too far off here. Smuggler's Copter. So we will wait it out for a turn here. We don't have a card, so that means anything Gran Gran tosses into the yard just ends up getting dumped anyway. Okay, Liliana. Ugh.
No more
Not good.
distractions.
Alright. Do we turn on Smuggler's Copter for any value? No, probably not. Okay, so our opponent is slowly starting to climb up. Wow.
Personal space.
Talk about a deck that completely takes away our whole game plan here. Well, this is terrible. Sacrifice Hopeless Nightmare to Scry. I think probably... I guess if I look back now, maybe I should have kept that. It'll quench it. That was probably the one of the key pieces we could have prevented ourselves from dying here. Can't even play any more crab. Alright. Okay, opponent. You win. Can't even play any more crab. Play Phyrexian Arena. Or Beat Hook Master. Wow, Beat Hook Master 2? I've never seen anybody actually play that card. No, seriously. Unbelievable.
Don't overthink things.
Well, this was absolutely miserable. They completely obliterated our entire graveyard, which ruined our whole game plan, and wow, we got smashed out of nowhere by some random jank deck. Not gonna lie, I don't mind getting beaten by a jank deck out of nowhere, but geez, talk about getting fully countered by an opponent. Alright, we'll just go to the wrap up. And there you have it already. So that was Gran Gran's lessons for the Pioneer format. And you tell me in the comments below, what do you think? Would you play this deck in any way, shape, or form? Now, I know we kind of look a little janky, mostly just because of how the deck is designed. We want to try to differentiate ourselves from the standard deck, and I think we do a decent job. But having said that, you kind of saw from one of our matches there, our biggest weakness, of course, is graveyard hate. If our opponent can keep eating away the graveyard, our deck kind of sputters a little bit, and Gran Gran sadly cannot get all the value that we want to get out of her. Having said that, of course, if we manage to go off, it is hilarious, just all the value that Gran Gran not only can provide, but also everything else we can keep bouncing and keep enhancing, and just kind of putting different variety of threats on the board that kind of can mess with our opponents. So if you do like a little bit of blue chaos, definitely this is a fun deck. But of course, again, graveyard hate will completely ruin your day. Having said all that, if you still like what the deck is trying to do and you are interested in seeing what else you can do with lessons, if you made it this far into the video, please leave a comment below because you are my true fiery friends. And because of that, let's go ahead, let's enhance this deck by adding in a bunch more rares, and let's see what we could do to take this deck to the next level. Now, as far as upgrading this deck and taking it to the next level, you'll notice that we are starting to look a little bit more like the standard deck that's currently running around. However, we are in Pioneer and we want to take advantage of the fact that we have a bigger card pool. So this is how we're going to differentiate our deck while also upgrading it to the next level. So obviously we're going to cover the new lessons that you can add in now that you're going to go into red. So we're going to throw in Firebending lesson. So now we have better spot removal. We're going to now get rid of our Siren to make room for this. And then going into the 2-drop slot here, we're going to move out some of the It'll Quench Juice and put them into the sideboard. By doing so, we'll now throw in Iroh's Demonstration, giving us at least a small little Wrath for the main deck, as well as maybe additional spot removal to then bolster Firebending lesson. To get more card draw out of the deck, we'll throw in Abandoned Attachments. I suppose you probably could put this into the main deck even in the budget form, but again, we wanted to have a little bit of fun with Enso artifacts, so you can just argue with me in the comments if you think that was the right decision. In any case, this means that now we're going to start focusing our deck a little bit more towards a spell slinging pile completely here. However, we do have a couple of key artifacts we still want to take advantage of, so now we're going to put in a full set of Smuggler's Copter, so kind of think of these as, I guess you could say, Gran Gran's 5 through 8, if you will. We still also want to then utilize more Monument of Endurance and also taking advantage of the card draw and discard we have in the deck. So we'll throw in now copies of the Royal Scions here. This Planeswalker allows us to draw and discard if we need to. You can also take up any one of our creatures to give it a +2/+0 pump with First Strike and Trample until end of turn. However, the biggest upgrade for us, and the one thing that makes us completely different from the standard deck, is we can take advantage of the former Strixhaven cards here that utilize not only lessons, but also the Learn mechanic. For those that have forgotten, Learn just basically means that you can pull a lesson card you own from outside the game, i.e. from your sideboard, and put it into your hand, or you can just simply just discard a card and draw a card. So this is perfect with Monument to Endurance, but realistically, you want to pull out maybe a key card that's going to help you get to your win by Divide by 0. So by doing that, let's now go into the sideboard and see how we're going to overhaul that. So we'll throw in some extra lessons here, and we're going to tweak, if you haven't noticed already, the sideboard where it says at the top here best of 1 and the bottom half is best of 3 only. Keep that in mind when you're organizing your cards before you start a match. But in any case here, the 7 we're going to be utilizing here is, as I mentioned, 2 copies of It'll Quench You will now go into the sideboard here. We'll throw in copies of Combustion Technique for additional spot removal, another copy of Iroh's Demonstration. We'll throw in How to Start a Riot, which may look a little bit strange, but hear me out for a second here. With this card, it gives all of our creatures +2/+0 and a target creature menace until end of turn. To take advantage of that, we'll then kind of circle back real quick now to Saheeli, Sublime Artificer. By throwing out now our Thopter production, we're now going to take advantage of Servo production. The reason for that is Saheeli allows us to create a Servo token anytime we cast a non-creature spell. So this will be a much faster way to go wide, and we can take advantage now of that How to Start a Riot. And the only other final lesson we're going to have is Start from Scratch, which does look a little expensive for 3 mana, but hear me out for a second here. If we do manage to turn on Gran Gran's ability, that means it's mostly going to be kind of like, I guess you could say, a braid, but it still works for our deck, so we're going to keep it as is. Going over the remainder of the sideboard, of course, will be Grafdigger's Cages, will bolster up the Soulguide Lanterns, so mix and match your graveyard hit as you need to, and then we'll move only 2 copies of Eddie Mercrab from the main deck now into the sideboard in case we just need a bigger body. And of course, our other major upgrade to the deck will be upgrading the mana base, but it's going to be an Agna Qual here, which allows us to draw a card and discard a card. We'll trim ourselves down to 3 islands, and then we'll throw in every kind of rare dual land we can muster up, so that'll be Rift Pyre Verges, Shivan Reefs, Spiral Bluff Canals, and Steam Vents. And with that all out of the way, here are my final thoughts that I want to give you on this deck. if you're a fan of the lesson mechanic, if you're a fan of discarding and drawing for value, and if you're a fan of a deck that is kind of a jack of all trades, which has artifacts, enchantments, instants, and sorceries, and I would definitely say, give this deck a try, and I assure you, when you manage to outperform your opponent with Gran Gran and a bunch of lesson spells, you're going to have a lot of fun doing so, and you'll be very surprised at how you can pull it off on today's budget, and whether you manage to go big with a crab or an insult artifact, or go wide with a bunch of Thopters, I assure you, you will definitely not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later.